Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my next installment in my Team Up Rewind review series for the bonus episode. So we're in the end game now. I only have 3 of these left before I finally get to my ranking of all the team-ups. And these next 2 are a little bit interesting because they're not really traditional team-ups in the normal sense. Like the Turtles one wasn't a traditional one because it was using the Turtles instead of other Rangers. And these aren't traditional because they are more of like cameo tribute episodes in the line of Gokaiger, sort of. So first up for these 2 reviews is Samurai Suprise. And this was the Samurai tribute episode for Super Megaforce. And it's been kind of weird because for this team-up series, I've been kind of trying to more so review them in the lens of how successful it is as a team-up or crossover. And there's a couple along these lines that aren't so much team-ups or crossovers, and they have other purposes, like Legendary Battle. In addition to being a crossover, is also a finale. When we get to it, the Poisey Show is also a clip show / holiday special. Or not a clip show. They don't have clips? I don't remember. But a holiday special. And this one, as well as the next one, is not only a kind of a crossover tribute episode, but it's also just meant to be a normal episode. So it's kind of be unavoidable to just talk about it as an episode itself. So with this episode, the villains are kind of fed up with losing to the Rangers, so what else is new? And they get this new general guy who's going to be super powerful and is like undefeated, and this is the first time like all the villains have arrived on Earth, with Vakar, I believe with his name, who's like the super wimpy spoiled prince villain, and he's just like super wimpy throughout all this because they end up leaving because he gets a paper cup. What paper cup? Not a paper. He's like, oh my god, I have a paper cup, guys, we gotta go! He was just a pathetic villain. Setting that aside, I think could have been stuff they could have done with this, with him being so pathetic and Vrak actually being an awesome villain. So much wasted potential in the hybridization of this. Like, that's my biggest thing, is there was wasted potential with the general storyline, and I could honestly almost care less about the cameo stuff. But anyway, setting that aside, it was the first time the villains came to Earth and they fully faced off, and the Megaforce team's channeling a bit of the Gokaiger's personalities, and they do some legendary changes to fight. They do MMPR, they do Lost Galaxy, but they still end up losing, and Noah gets knocked down, but he gets up again. So they have a bit of a crisis of confidence, and they're kind of sulking at Ernie's about being able to defeat this monster. And that's when Jayden shows up, which is kind of the main cameo for this. There is another one, which it happened earlier, but I'll circle back to it. But Jayden is at the shop, and he jims the camera, and he orders a plain froyo. I feel like he's channeling Haruto there. Plain sugar. So he basically gives them some generic Jayden Samurai advice, and talks about how the Legendary Rangers have been watching them, and he hands them the Samurai Double Disc. I think it was the Double Disc. It turns you into double, and your power is Akiko's shoe that you just beat people with. It's kind of like Sam's butter sock, but with a shoe. I'm just kidding. Some people will probably take me seriously with that. But it was a nice scene, and that's really all this amounts to in terms of interaction, is this scene. And it felt in character. It felt very in character for the advice and things that Jayden would say within the series. I kind of like the vibe both of these episodes have of like the Legendary Rangers watching over them, and it kind of ties in with the way it feels in the finale, but it brings questions about like why were they watching and not helping and all that type of stuff. But let's not get into that for this episode. But I liked the interactions between them. I thought it was good advice. The stuff with Jayden jimming the camera was kind of awkwardly funny, and then they get to another battle at the end, and this is where we get a bunch of legendary changes, like some we've known and then some that are new powers, and that opens up the whole new powers controversy. If you guys have watched me at all regularly, you know that I'm team new powers. I thought it harmlessly added to the lore, and I think they use the Prism ones now, which at this point in time were just used in the Astronema comic, so I always liked it. I thought it was harmless, no need to get upset over it. So, and it was a fun fight. Like, this episode, just as an episode, was honestly pretty solid because of and including that, which again I'll get to in a second. But they end the episode obviously using the Samurai powers and the Double Disc powers, and then this also leads to the unlock of the Megazord mode, the Samurai Megazord mode. Because if you don't remember, Gokaiger / Super Megaforce had this kind of dual mecha tribute where they rode on the Wild Force Lion, and then the Lion transformed into the Samurai tribute mech. Because during the battle, you see Jayden and G watching from afar, and they're like, they look like they could use a little help, and so they help unlock the Samurai tribute mode, and they transform into the Samurai version of the Legendary Megazord, and they save the day. And then there's kind of a last little scene with Jayden and G where he's like, oh, how was that froyo? And he says, oh, I didn't get to try it, but I'm sure it would have been better than Mia's cooking, which felt like a little bit of a forced line, like they were trying to figure out how to fit in a line about Mia's cooking, but at the same time I liked it because it was a nice little tribute and nod to Samurai and one of their ongoing jokes. And speaking of G, who I just mentioned for the first time being there watching over them, he had a cameo at the beginning of the episode where he runs into Noah and Jake because they see his bike, and then Jake's like, cool bike, man. I don't know why he sounded like Bart Simpson. And Noah's like, do you know who that is? And he pulls out his iPad and he's got the Legendary Ranger footage of G in there. And I liked having G in here as a cameo. I wish he would have had a bigger role, which was kind of strange. Overall, like, as far as just a Super Megaforce episode goes, this was like a stronger one. I mean, it felt like it had a little bit higher stakes with Vakar coming down to Earth, them facing off with the main villains for the first time. The Legendary Quick Ranger Change battle was a cool one, and it was a good debut for a mecha, because this was the series is kind of infamous for just unlocking stuff out of nowhere, and because this tied to them specifically meeting a Legendary Ranger and sort of learning from them, I liked that that tied into them actually unlocking the Samurai mode. It felt fitting for a Samurai tribute. And again, this is just weird as a team up. I mean, I wish there was more from it. That's kind of what a lot of people feel about Super Megaforce in general. I wish that maybe Jayden could have met the whole team, but it was a nice scene with Jayden. I liked that G was in it. I liked the scenes of them overlooking at the end. I liked the little exchange at the end, even if it was a little bit forced. But I wish G could have had a better role than just a cameo at the beginning. Like, I wish that both Jayden and G could have given the Rangers advice. Like, you had the group there at the bar, you know, Ernie's, and they got advice from Jayden. Maybe it would have been nice to see, like, Gia and Emma get advice from G or something, or split the Rangers into two groups and have each of them get advice from one of them. Just a little more from G other than just showing up from the beginning for the sake of it. But yeah, this is a weird one overall, because I honestly enjoyed this episode. I thought it was an enjoyable Samurai tribute, but it's just weird to talk about it as a team-up, or even going to be to rank it as a team-up, because it's not much of a team-up, it's more of a cameo. But I would say it could have been more, but for what it is, I thought it was enjoyable, and I don't have too many complaints about it, to be honest. But that's about it for this one, guys. Until next time, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to notifications for my videos, and let me know what you think of this episode in the comments. Dawson Ryder, signing out.